who drove her 3 children into the ocean has now been arrested and charged with 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 3 counts of aggravated child abuse. Tonight, we are hearing the 911 call that Ebony Wilkerson's sister made just hours before Ebony drove her children into the water.
My sister was getting abused by her husband. I tried to take her to the hospital yesterday, and she signed herself out today. She's getting a little bit better, but she's still not all here. So she's trying to drive, and I'm trying to stop her. And she had her kids, so I took her keys. She's talking about Jesus and that there's demons in my house, and that I'm trying to control her, but I'm trying to keep them safe.
Joining me now is criminal defense attorney George Parnham, who served as Andrea Yates' lawyer. Yates confessed to killing her 5 children by drowning them in a bathtub. You all probably remember that horrible story. She was eventually found not guilty by reason of insanity. Also joining me is psychotherapist Robi Ludwig. All right, great to have both of you with us. I appreciate it. Robi, you're with me. Let me start with you. The sheriff said that they didn't find any past mental health issues. Interesting that they stopped her before she did this. Just imagine if she had successfully killed her children. How we'd be looking at that moment now where they said, well, she seemed mentally not with it, but lucid, so we let her go.
I mean, that is just negligence. I can't imagine why anybody would make that kind of intervention unless they didn't have knowledge about how mentally ill people can be dangerous when they're not well. But just because this woman doesn't have a documented history of a mental illness, it doesn't mean that she wasn't battling with a long time mental illness that either went untreated or just wasn't quite as obvious. You know, there are a lot of stressors in this woman's life that could have made her floridly psychotic, because it does sound like this woman was psychotic according to the sister's report.
So George, how does it play in here with what we just heard the sheriff say, that he had, that she told the children they were going to a better place, she put up the windows. I mean, she clearly was preparing for what she did. It was purposeful. She knew what she was doing. Do you see any way to plead insanity in that case?
Oh, sure. There's no question but that the insanity standard in the state of Florida comes into play in this situation. Remember that to commit an act that is prosecuted as a crime, one has to intend to commit that particular act. But individuals that are insane intend to commit acts all the time, and consequently cannot be, if they are in fact determined to be sane, cannot be held responsible criminally for their particular actions. I think insanity well comes into play. I also have that question that was raised earlier, and we've got the sister making the call about the safety, concerned about the safety of the children.
Right.
And that 911 call, we've got the officer stopping this woman and determining that she evidences mental illness but yet is lucid. I wonder if, in fact, the second prong of the Baker Act and dictating an involuntary examination, if that was taken into consideration, the sister's phone call about the safety of the kids. And what is lucid?
I mean, that's a big question. I want to play, to your point, George, what the sheriff said about after the incident when she had driven the car into the ocean, what sort of state of mind she appeared to be in. Here's the sheriff again.
She was very cooperative, very calm, very lucid, very, the way they talked, apparently I think, according to her, she even has some college education, but it was very calm.
What does that say to you?
Listen, this woman could have felt comfortable being, you know, not being able to act on her impulses. She might have felt comfortable that she was safe now that people had her in custody. But I just want to point out that if she were psychotic, she could have believed that, you know, because she saw a bird flying over the ocean, it was a sign that she should kill her children because it was altruistic and being in heaven would be safer than being around an abusive husband. I mean, we don't know what her mindset is. Her intention to kill might have been not to harm, but to save her kids in some bizarre, illogical, psychotic way.
It's impossible to imagine, George, and so horrific, the act that she apparently, again, apparently, we don't know, allegedly intended to commit. But what sort of sentence might she face? I mean, I guess whether she's, you know, insane, and that works, or obviously if she's not insane, I would imagine that would be death. But what about if she is insane?
I think if the jury determines that she doesn't meet the insanity standard in the state of Florida, then she can receive up to life in the penitentiary. I would certainly urge her court-appointed defense attorney or retained defense attorney to get in there immediately and see her, even videotape her if in fact she presents physical manifestations of a mental illness. A person who is psychotic frequently will talk in terms of disorganized thought. This whole issue that the sheriff talks about being calm, and I've seen many, many instances where individuals are legally insane and yet act as calm as a cucumber after the act that they commit that lands them in jail charged with an offense. So that isn't necessarily determinative of the state of mind of that person.